thing. And it says we are live. By the way, I think for the guy that was like, you guys are just so weird on the waiver wire show, I was like, I bet he's watching and he just sees the picture of Dr. G and he's like, what is going on?
What's going on? Is the week 13 recap?
Saying anything. Yeah, that's what it is. What a segue. Look at you, Sigmund.
Yeah, I learned from the best.
Professional Sigmund Bloom. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the weekly recap here on the Audible. Week 13, spinning around the National Football League and going beyond the box score. Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom on the Footballguys.com podcast. Our man, Jeff Brantley, on the day that he's rocking his Sam Darnold jersey, he watches his Jets lose to the Bengals 22-6. The final score, Darnold with 28 of 48, 239 yards passing, most of it to Robbie Anderson, 7 for 101. That's a thing. Le'Veon Bell, 4 for 35 as a receiver, and then 10 for 32 as a runner. Ryan Griffin, 5 for 30. So in PPR leagues, that's enough. Demaryius Thomas, 3 for 23. That's about it. So really, these Jets, what an embarrassment today. And fantasy GMs, you shouldn't be relying on Robbie Anderson. Right. That's fine. Everyone else, bad.
It was bad, Cease. This story was the Jets saying, oh, you thought we were reliable? You thought we're the Jets. We're the freaking Jets.
What were you thinking?
You played the Jets defense? Even we don't play the Jets defense. And we're on the Jets. And of course, we'll talk about Andy Dalton. But yeah, that's the big takeaway here. And even Robbie Anderson, he was the one unreliable Jet for the rest of the season until the last few weeks. So can we trust him? Well, maybe. I mean, next week they get Miami. But you're going to go back to Sam Darnold? Probably not. Maybe as a quarterback to Superflex. And they did establish Anderson from the very first drive. It's what's funny here, again, is the Jets can lose to probably the two worst teams in the league. Although Miami's not the worst team or second worst team in the league now. And still not have a top 5 pick. Ryan Griffin did okay for your PPR leagues. And well, that's about it. Even Le'Veon Bell had a floor game, but his floor games are still 10, 12-point games in PPR leagues. And Miami coming to the Jets' house next week, sees they're looking for the sweep. Get out the brooms.
Get out the brooms as we go beyond the box score with Andy Dalton's return for the Cincinnati Bengals. 22 of 37, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. The touchdown, Tyler Boyd. What a tough catch. 5 for 59 in the touch there. Auden Tate leading the way with 4 for 66. CJ Uzomah, 5 for 51 as Tyler Eifert gets 1 for 12. Joe Mixon, you started him. 19 for 44 and a touch. You'll take that. You want a little bit more. 4 for 26 as a receiver. That certainly helps as well. But Andy Dalton returns, and what do you know? This team wins a game. Still get Joe Burrow, though.
Exactly right. If it's right now, they will fall out of the number 1 pick if they win one more game and the Giants don't. But the Giants aren't going to take Joe Burrow. Or the Giants might try. It's Dave Gettleman. The Giants are just going to take Chase Young. All right. Or Derek Brown. They're not going to take Joe Burrow. So it's okay. It's okay if Andy Dalton leaves as his parting gift for the Bengals organization, playing them out of the first overall pick. But he's not the problem. He might not be the solution. He's not the problem either. You like seeing Zach Taylor get that bath. You got your first win. Yay. Joe Mixon, not as efficient, but on a better team. And they're throwing the ball to him. Wonders. His stock is coming up out of this game. Auden Tate's stock is coming back after a kind of scary-looking injury. He's fine. It was a good day for some of those big, slow receivers from 2 years ago. Tyler Boyd, you're feeling better about playing him. He's got 2 good weeks in a row. Even CJ Uzomah, who dropped an easy touchdown, or he would have had a bigger day. Not so much Tyler Eifert. So Cincinnati, if they win one more game, no longer the number 1 pick if the Giants don't win a game. And hey, they're playing Cleveland next week. So Cincinnati started it.
Mm-hmm. Just you wait and see. Great debate, and I thought it was funny in the press box today at the Broncos game. Humble brag. People are going like, Ryan Tannehill's the real deal. I was like, just because he's not Marcus Mariota doesn't mean that he's the real deal, but he is playing well, and this team is responding to him, Bloom. 31-17. Huge AFC South game for both of these teams. Titans win over the Colts. Tannehill 17 of 22, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. And look at the calendar, Bloom. It must be December because Derrick Henry is running wild. 26 for 149 and a touchdown there. A.J. Brown, 3 for 45. Khalif Raymond. Hey, way to go, Khalif. 1 for 40 and a touch. Nobody started him. Corey Davis, you might have started him, 1 for 23. Adam Humphries gets 1 for 13 and the other touch. But as long as Well, this defense is playing the way it is, and Derrick Henry's running the ball the way he is. The Titans can continue winning.
Yeah, that comes out this morning that maybe Ryan Tannehill will get the franchise tag at quarterback, and that's fine. That's fine to maintain what they have here because the blueprint's working, at least to be the best that this team can be with these players and these coaches. And you can see at this time of year, I think instincts just take over. Like when it's time to tackle Derrick Henry, it's like if there was a buffalo running at you. Like you just survival. You'd be like, I don't want any of that. Not at this time of year. You saw that from the Indy defense. And this one's going to go out to Daniel Simpkins. Love Daniel. One of our staffers.
One of the nicest guys ever.
Oh, yeah. And this is why I said to him a few weeks ago, because I was saying, hey, if Tennessee can sweep Houston, they could still win the division. They'll never do that. Like, you're worse than me, man. Even during this game when they were down 17-7, he was saying, they can't defend the pass. They can't pass. They can't do anything. I said, Daniel, breathe. You're ruining your own experience of being a fan of this team. And the next thing you know, they get a touchdown, they block a field goal and return it. And check out what the Colts mascot did at the end of that touchdown. If you haven't looked it up, it's really funny. But yeah, Tannehill makes a well-timed throw to Khalif Raymond. And, Arthur Smith making the play calls. Ryan Tannehill executing. What more can you ask for here? You can ask for some more volume in the passing game, but that's not this team's blueprint to win. You saw a good Colts pass rush, too. File that away for their game against Tampa Bay next week. So the volume's just not there to support A.J. Brown or Corey Davis or Jonnu Smith or whoever. However, this team's blueprint is working. If they keep winning, they still have 2 games left against Houston. They will go to the playoffs, maybe even as a division winner. They still have to play the Saints, too. But next week they get Oakland. That's a winnable game.
Always winnable when you go against the Oakland Raiders. The Colts are reeling now, dropping this one, going to 6-6, and not looking like they're going to the postseason. Jacoby Brissett, 25 of 40, 319 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. And because you fall behind, although it was 10-7 at half, still could have kept running the ball. And by the way, it was Indy's lead at 10-7 at the half. But Jonathan Williams, that fell off after back-to-back 100-yard games, 8 for 14 on the ground, 1 for 11 as receiver for Jonathan Williams. Zach Pascal, the leading receiver, 7 for 109. So untrustworthy, but it was a hot week, and then it'll be a cold week for 2 weeks. But anyway, Jack Doyle, 6 for 73 and a touchdown there. You saw Jordan Wilkins lead the way on the ground with 11 for 47 in this contest. Nyheim Hines have a rushing touchdown, 22 yards rushing, 2 catches, 18 yards receiving. So just an interesting day for the Colts here, and no T.Y. Hilton.
No, and you just see how quickly things change around this league, right? So about a month and a half ago, we're looking at Jacoby Brissett as the league's leading touchdown passer. And now a lot of folks saying, well, at least they're only married to him for 1 more year because he's a limiting quarterback. And Jonathan Williams looked like he was the guy. Not so much after the first half. More Jordan Wilkins, who looked better than him, and Nyheim Hines get that touchdown. Brissett numbers were okay for fantasy by the end of the game, but not okay for this team. He's not the quarterback to bring them back from behind. He's not the quarterback to get this team to the playoffs. Marlon Mack could be back next week. Tampa run defense, I'm not sure how we feel about that. The one thing we are sure of here is Jack Doyle. Without Eric Ebron now, he looks like he's going to be a safe play for the rest of the year. Looked really good in this one. Free agent next year. File that away. And then Zach Pascal, who's been up and down. I mean, truly unreliable from a fantasy perspective, but he has burst on the scene, evolving from a special teamer to someone they would play in a pinch at wide receiver to a core wide receiver for this team. So you've seen him growing up a lot, while T.Y. Hilton has been banged up this year. Missed, I think, more games than he has in any other year of his career, and the season isn't even over yet. So they're probably out of it. But they do play Tampa next week. I think Indy, Tampa. I think Tony Dungy, which makes me think of the Steelers, which makes me happy today.
I think of Tony Dungy, and I think how John Gruden won a Super Bowl with his players in Tampa. Yeah. So There we have it. Eagles. And I like this elevator operator. It's a deep cut, Bloom. 37-31. Dolphins beat the Eagles. Jason Wood is drinking heavily right now. Hope so. Woodrow, cheers to you, my friend. We'll be seeing you in Vegas here in just a little bit. And, well, Eagles, Carson Wentz, too many questions. So many questions about Carson Wentz, Bloom. Like fantasy GMs are like, I'm all in. Give me those chips. Carson Wentz, 310 and 3 touchdowns. Good. Don't get greedy. Miles Sanders, 17 for 83 on the ground, also 5 for 22 and a receiving touchdown. That's good. Alshon Jeffrey, 9 for 137 and a touchdown. Really good. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, 1 for 15 and the other touchdown. Dallas Goddard, the Devil Line, 6 for 66. And Zach Ertz banged up, 3 for 24 in this contest. Nelson Aguilar, 3 for 41. And they just couldn't stop Miami in the second half and lose.
What a fun game. Miami's making games fun. Ryan Fitzpatrick is making games fun. Brian Flores making games fun. This one was fun from a fantasy perspective on the Eagle side if you trusted the key pieces. Wentz, Sanders, Goddard, because Ertz was a true game time decision. He played. I think Jay Glazer said he was on the doubtful side of questionable and it's shaky. So if you trusted Jay Glazer, and Cecil, I would say of everybody who reports, because Jay Glazer doesn't say much. So when you know when Glazer says it, you should trust it. If you were smart and you trusted that, then you maybe dodged a bullet there with Ertz, and you were more confident about Dallas Goddard. Alshon Jeffrey practiced in full this week. He got a little banged up at the end of this one, setting up a Hail Mary, but he came through. So what do we know out of this one? You still play your offensive players against Miami. It's the Jets next week. So maybe not. But Philly, I believe, still controls their own destiny. I think there's some tiebreakers and permutations. They're only a game back of Dallas in the standings. They still play Dallas, although Dallas already beat them. And they still have an easier schedule left than Dallas. Like next week, Dallas plays Chicago. Philly gets the Giants. But this is when you hang your head. And did you see Doug Peterson said after the game, that's a good football team. I mean, that's a well-coached football team. That's a well-prepared football team. That's a team that plays with high effort. A good football team? You lost to a bad football team, Doug Peterson.
You lost to Ryan Fitzmagic. 365 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. Devontae Parker was a man among boys. 7 for 159 and 2 touchdowns. Mike Gesicki, again, kind of the hot and cold streak that is Mike Gesicki. 5 for 79 and a touch today. Cool. Jason Sanders had a touchdown as well. Matt Hack throwing a pass there, getting that one done. Let's talk about nobody from the backfield. I guess Patrick Laird had a touchdown. Laird truthers rejoice. Nobody else did anything. Let's talk about these Dolphins.
What a fun game. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes out, throws a bad pick to start this. You're thinking, oh, here we go. We'll start the team playing Miami on defense.
Is there a good pick?
No, well, I mean, there's picks when you throw directly to the defender and there's no offensive player around. That kind of pick. Nick Foles had one of those today. A Jameis Winston. They call it a Winston in the business.
A Winston. Mm-hmm.
And then something happened. This team scored a touchdown. They made it 13-7. Then they drove down and got stopped at the 1 or 2 yard line. It was 13-7, 4th and goal. And Brian Flores, you crafty, they call it the Mountaineer shot, Cease. And here's how the play was lined up. If you didn't get to see it yet, because you're a working man on Sundays. We all are, but you're at the stadium. So you got the center and the punter, the holder, because it is the field goal unit. Did you see Nick Saban saying that's unfair, by the way? It's one of the greatest moments in my decades as a football fan. When someone said Nick Saban said, that's unfair. And Nick Saban said this is unfair too, because what happened to him when he was the Dolphins coach was also unfair. So it's the punter and the center with 2 defenders lined up over them. And then there's like 4 offensive players on this side and 4 offensive players all lined up like outside the hashes. It's one of the funkiest formations you'll see. Actually, I'm sorry, it's 5 on one side and 4 on the other. And what makes it 5 and 4 is the kicker, Jason Sanders, is in the 5. They snap the ball. They actually snap the ball. And like, when have you ever practiced this as a special teams? Like, you don't. And what happens is the punter like kind of leaks over to the side with 5 offensive players, and all of the defenders close on him. And here's Jason Sanders, the kicker, sneaking into the end zone, and he just flips it to him for the touchdown. It was scintillating. It was beautiful. It was true football where there's no bounds except the rules and your imagination. And that really lit this team. They scored touchdowns on 5 possessions in a row if you don't count a kneel down at the end of the first half. Fitzmagic, baby. He was the better fantasy quarterback in this game. I'll play him over Sam Darnold next week. Kalen Ballage got hurt, so Patrick Laird mattered. I mean, Laird also had, 10 rushes for 4 yards, but he got a touchdown, had some receptions. But it was really about Devontae Parker. What a move by Chris Greer. I think it was 2 years, $9 million. Is that what it was, Cease? Because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Odd thing, right? They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but they did sign him to a multi-year deal. So they get him next year for a minimal amount. This game today was everything we ever pictured he could have been in the NFL. He was mossing guys at the catch point. He was elevating, he was high pointing, he was out muscling guys, even a little NFL push off here and there. But Devontae Parker really arrived in this game. Kind of game that changes a player. Mike Gesicki looking good in this game too. His athleticism, his mismatches. You just get him on someone who's 6 feet, 5'11", and let him do the rest. And Cecil, it's a Thursday night thing. We haven't had a Thursday night show for a little bit. Yes, it's the right thing to keep winning. Yes, go out and play hard. It's fun. It's exciting. Win games. Whether you get Chase Young or whoever's the 5th pick or 6th pick, if you get these guys used to winning, used to the exhilarating feeling of winning, bonding, coming together, trusting their coach, understanding that, hey, if we all pull together and we have each other's back and we do our jobs, we can win games. It's wonderful to watch. Yeah, they can win another one again, the Jets next weekend.
You're creating a culture.
Yeah.
Packers and Giants, 31-13, the final score. Aaron Rodgers, 243, 4 touchdowns. Davante Adams, 6 for 64 and 2 tutties. Alan Lazard, there's your big slow receiver from a couple of years ago, 3 for 103 and a touchdown. Mercedes Lewis, only 1 catch for 1 yard, but it was 1 touchdown, so that counts. Jamal Williams leading the way on the ground, 10 for 41. Aaron Jones, 11 for 18. Ouch. 4 for 13 as a receiver for Aaron Jones. And then Jamal Williams, 4 for 26 as a receiver. Jimmy Graham with 1 catch for 16 yards. There's an ouch as well. So Green Bay gets the win on the road as expected. And not everybody has a big day.
No, but is there any team that looks more natural in the snow than Green Bay?
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's just one of those things. It's December, baby. It's fun. It's fun. It was a really fun Sunday of football. I know you guys had fun in Denver. The Giants tried to put up that Dolphins-like effort for a little bit. Giants are set up to be the number 2. They're going to get Chase Young, maybe number 1 pick by the time the dust settles. You know that Rodgers can play in the snow. He's got lots of experience. He bogarted the touchdowns, so it wasn't a good week for Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones is in a committee. And not because the coaches are mishandling it, I'm afraid, because Jamal Williams is playing pretty well and was the better running back today. So that's just going to introduce that risk. Now, next week against Washington, it could swing back to 3 or 4 rushing touchdowns. So you're going to keep playing Aaron Jones, but this is what you're going to get used to. Davante Adams, of course, he's back as long as Rodgers is playing well. And of course, Rodgers has had some pendulum swings too, but he has a good matchup again next week. And Lazard, I think he's emerging as the number 2 receiver for this team. And you saw him getting separation downfield, but of course, he can win big at the catch point. And it's the Giants secondary against Philly next week. As long as Alshon Jeffrey's okay, you're probably going to like that spot. Green Bay's cruising to the playoffs. Will they be the division winner? Will they be a wild card? We'll see. Lots of things to fall into place here. They may go on the road for the first week of the playoffs as a wild card. They may host a game in the snow. They need to get this defense going. They had a few moments, at least in the secondary, but Aaron Rodgers is getting back on track. There hasn't really been a point. What's this team now? Like 9-3 or whatever. I mean, they're headed to the playoffs. And you still haven't felt them come together for at least the last 2 months. So is there room for them to peak? Is this kind of the opposite of a team that is peaking at the wrong time? They haven't peaked yet. It's still Aaron Rodgers in a 1-game scenario in the playoffs. You have to like your chances with him. So even though it hasn't seemed like a smashing success for Matt LaFleur this year, here we are.
Green Bay hasn't played their best football. Message.
Yeah.
The Giants don't play good football, and you mentioned the secondary there for Green Bay, picking off Daniel Jones 3 times, 20 for 37, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. Caden Smith leading the receiving ways from the tight end position, 6 for 70. Darius Slayton, 6 for 44. Cody Latimer, 1 for 43. Oh, Peyton. Sterling Shepard, 3 for 40, and the receiving touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 19 for 83 and 3 for 32 as a receiver, and that's about it for anybody you would care about for this Giants team.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones said he'd never played a game in the snow before. He did all right considering that. It really wasn't that big of a deal, honestly, the weather about halfway through this game. What you like about Daniel Jones is it's full effort. He doesn't play scared at all. But it's still, you see his limitations. But he's got room to grow. And it's still a futile effort. Saquon Barkley not putting his stamp on a game. Better as a runner. By the way, Green Bay getting Washington next week. Watch out for that. Green Bay's run defense, it's a little soft underbelly. Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis. Can't wait to talk about him. They're licking their chops, thinking about running at that Green Bay defense. Saquon Barkley did better, but for fantasy for this game, didn't really have a lot of effect on the outcome. Sterling Shepard had a touchdown in the snow. Darius Slayton getting a lot of targets. Caden Smith, third string, 6th round rookie tight end. Maybe
another Stanford guy, right?
Yeah, all these Stanford tight ends. Against Philly next week, you might take a look at him if Ingram and Ellison aren't back. Giants are going to try to play spoiler next week against those Eagles. And, well, you watch the Eagles today, they got a shot.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Always a chance, like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
20-13, the final score over the kind of Baker Mayfield-less Browns. Kind of. Okay, let's get into it. Baker Mayfield, 18-32, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, sacked 5 times, knocked from this game, came back. Garrett Gilbert came in, threw 2 passes. Neither one of them were complete. Sounds about right. Jarvis Landry, 6 for 76. Odell Beckham Jr., 3 for 29. Demetrius Harris had 1 for 23. I mean, Kareem Hunt as a receiver. Okay, you started Kareem Hunt as a flex play. 5 for 19 and 1 receiving touchdown. 7 for 46 as a runner. Nick Chubb, 16 for 58 and 1 for 21 as a receiver. This was the rematch from the Mason Rudolph situation that we saw a couple of weeks ago. Well, no Mason Rudolph in this one. We'll get to Devlin Hodges, but the Browns, it was going to be tough against the Steelers defense, and it was pretty ugly.
It was an ugly game. I mean, there's no winner in this game, really. There's nothing to be proud of as the winner of this game. But it was a survival game. Survive in advance. Mayfield getting banged up, banging his hand on a pass at the end of the first half into Bud Dupree's face mask, but came back out for the second half. Odell Beckham banged up and not really much of a factor. More like Odell Beckham. See, I messed up my own joke. Just scratch that. Use the editing on that one, Cecil. Zip, zip, zip. The Jarvis Landry is consistent and okay. Kareem Hunt still looks good. Kareem Hunt, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him as a restricted free agent next year. He looks fantastic. He looks the same way he did in Kansas City. What you come out of this one with, is it time to fire Freddie Kitchens? Isn't that how it goes, right? You lose to the Steelers. If you're the Browns coach, you get fired. Just the way he's handled this, just where this team is at. Is it time to consider this as a very limited upside kind of relationship? Maybe it's next week Cincinnati and losing to Andy Dalton. I don't know. We can see now with this loss the 2019 Browns aren't going to go anywhere. It's official. What about the head coach career, at least, of Freddie Kitchens? Even though it was 2013, it wasn't really even that close. They had a good first half. Mike Tomlin made the defensive adjustments at halftime on a chalkboard. And, well, that was, chalkboard. That's just too high tech for Freddie Kitchens, I guess.
Yeah, Roger Goodell was like, can you get him on a Microsoft Surface, please? Microsoft Surface, presented by Microsoft Surface. We have a Surface in our household. It's not terrible. It's not a bad thing. I know you're a Mac guy, Bloom, but whatever.
Not now.
Not now. Okay, let's talk about the Steelers. I love the duck hats, right? We wear funny hats on this show. Maybe that's why that one guy called us weird. We're fine. I want a duck hat. I want you and me to have duck hats. Like I saw some Steelers fans had the Duck Hodges and the 24th and a half century, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 up, 1 down, 1 TD, 1 INT, touchdown. James Washington, what a catch! 4 for 111 and 1 touchdown. And it just took some time, Bloom. Like early James Washington, because we knew he was good at Oklahoma State, but early James Washington as a rookie, it was like, oof, that was a little rough. He's coming into it's blossoming right before our very eyes. Nobody else did crap. Benny Snell had a rushing touchdown, right? Plugging away as that downhill grinder, 16 for 63, 3.9 a carry. Actually sounds pretty good for him. But other than that, James Washington get a touchdown, Benny Snell get a touchdown, and Duck Hodges lead his team to the win.
And there were a lot of bad plays in this game by the Steelers offense. There was a point that they were starting to take control of the game, and Duck Hodges threw a long interception where Deontay Johnson gave up on a route so that the interception was returned. It was 20-10. Like they were about to just close the game out. There was a play when Deontay Johnson went out of bounds late. There was a Duck Hodges incompletion that if he just would have sat down on the turf, he would have got 45 more seconds. They didn't close this game out well, but they still won. Duck Hodges, not necessarily a good fantasy option, although against Arizona next week, Jared Goff differs on that. But James Washington, he can make the throws that James Washington can go up and get. They're hunting buddies. You're going to like this. You're going to keep, even if Juju's back next week, Washington's your number one guy. Strangely, they come out in this one, and it's Snell and Samuels and Kareth White. Kareth White looks good, some speed in the backfield. And there was a kick return that went out to like the 45-yard line. Cease. I didn't even know what team I was watching for a second there. And then in the second half, that was Benny Snell time. Now we just got to get Benny Snell with Travell Gaines, and the world will be complete, right? But you see, they win. The recipe's there. I don't know exactly how the math works out. Still got to play Buffalo. Still got to play Baltimore. I think as it stands right now, if the playoffs started today, the Steelers would be in. They would be in. And the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade is brilliant. Kevin Colbert, brilliant. And maybe if the Steelers don't lose Ben Roethlisberger, Miami doesn't make that trade, because Miami's looking and thinking, just like the negative. Because I tell Daniel Simpkins, our lovely staffer, our friend, don't be like me. Don't be so neurotic. And, well, 7-5. Well, there's defense. There's guys like Javon Hargrave making plays. Sadly, I don't think they can. Bud Dupree, I don't think they can keep both of those guys in free agency next year. At least one of them will turn into a third. The Steelers are turning guys into third-round comp picks that aren't Le'Veon Bell. So, hey, this is turned around, and there's something to build here. It has maybe been Mike Tomlin's best coaching performance of his career. We'll see what happens. There's Kyler Murray, banana in the tailpipe next week. Should be an interesting game to watch. Interesting team to watch. They get the win.
Let's talk Washington against the Panthers and winning 29-21. Dwayne Haskins, 13-25, 147 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. It was all about the ground game. They got 248 yards on the ground as a team and 3 rushing touchdowns. Most of it, 10 for 129 and 2 touchdowns to Darius Geis. Also 2 for 8 as a receiver there, because that counts. Adrian Peterson, 13 for 99 and 1 rushing touchdown there. And then, Kelvin Harmon, their leading receiver, 3 for 51, kind of tells you about the day. Yeah. That this team could run the ball all day. Carolina couldn't stop them. And, they're like, why do we have Haskins to do a lot? It's 50% passing anyway, so let's just keep running the ball.
Right, like Bill Callahan, the evil genius. This is exactly, Terry McLaurin, you plugged him in, you're sad. But otherwise, this is what the team is looking for. Carolina, poor Shaq Thompson. He's going to wake up in the middle of the night with, I think Darius Geis is about to run over him. And Adrian Peterson. And both of these guys, the way they run the ball, the way this running game's going. Again, Green Bay, watch out. Watch out, Green Bay, because Washington's going to keep running until you prove that you can stop them. But this is the blueprint. So maybe that throws a little bit of doubt into whether you're going to start McLaurin from here on out, even though McLaurin is playing so well. And are they playing their way out of Chase Young? Does it matter? Again, you want to win. I know you're not establishing the Bill Callahan culture. Although knowing Dan Snyder, if they can pull off some wins here, maybe it'll be like another Freddie Kitchens. They'll take the interim off of his name. But, it's going to be interesting because Carolina, they're going to get Atlanta next week. Well, Devontae Freeman, I don't know if that's going to happen. But, yeah, Washington can run the ball, and Green Bay's run defense, not very good.
Let's talk Carolina side. Kyle Allen, 278 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. DJ Moore, 6 for 75 and a touch. Curtis Samuel, 4 for 65 and a touch. Christian McCaffrey, 14 for 44 on the ground and 7 for 58 as a receiver. It's one of those floor games. You're fine. You have McCaffrey. Nobody feels sorry for you. By the way, Kyle Allen had a rushing touchdown because Bloom, that counts too.
It does. And all of his numbers count, but Kyle Allen's not good. You watch the first, quarter or two of this game. He looked terrible. He got some numbers for you in this game. He made a nice touchdown to Curtis Samuel in the back of the end zone. DJ Moore got one late in garbage time. And they actually had a chance to tie this game. It was 29-21, and they were right on the doorstep at the goal line. But Kyle Allen, he's just not that good. Carolina's not that good. And Cease, you've been covering this game. Like, you're in locker rooms. You're at team facilities. So I believe the Panthers said after this game, there will not be a decision made about Marty Hurney and Ron Rivera until after the season. What my ears heard was they're both getting fired at the end of the season. What do you think?
You are correct.
So,
that's the translation.
Right. So, they're playing Atlanta next week, and maybe they can accelerate that because Atlanta, they already got thumped by them once this year.
28-11, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers thump the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the fans chanting, "We want Minshew." They got him. We'll get to Jacksonville's side a little bit, but let's talk about Jameis, who didn't throw an interception. That is news. Peyton Barber, who ran for 2 touchdowns. Not as much news, but, just Ronald Jones, he was a sabotage drop a couple weeks ago, people, when Peyton Barber kept vulturing touchdowns. That's what Barber did again today. Rashad Perriman, the leading receiver, 5 for 87. O.J. Howard, 5 for 61. Mike Evans, 4 for 53. Chris Godwin, 4 for 50. So the Bucs win in a convincing fashion, Bloom, but the fantasy assets that you thought would help you didn't really do that much.
No, and even Ronald Jones, for that matter, because he's the more talented running back. And we knew Jacksonville's run defense coming in was vulnerable. And it was vulnerable in the red zone, I guess, but otherwise didn't give up a lot of yards per carry. Like you said, it was Peyton Barber getting those touchdowns. And really, when this is a story of Jameis Winston shooting himself in the foot, taking his team, like lighting their chances to win on fire, and Nick Foles said, "Hold my beer." I mean, that's why this game went the way it did, because it was Nick Foles making those bad decisions, bad plays. So Jameis Winston, they said, "Just don't turn it over, man. We're going to win this game." He said, "I can handle that." When we're playing from ahead against Jacksonville. Again, they're facing Indy next week. So, Rashad Perriman, O.J. Howard, no, you're not going to go back to him, but he had at least a good day, a sign of life. Remember, he's still in the upside part of his career arc. That's why Evans and Godwin didn't do much, but, Evans and Godwin each have like a 200-yard week winning day left in them before the end of the year.
Certainly. How about Gardner Minshew coming in? And that's really the story, Bloom. We'll go through the numbers, but
right.
It's more like, what do they do from here on out? D.D. Westbrook, 5 for 60 and a touch. Chris Conley, 4 for 57. Leonard Fournette, 14 for 38 on the ground, but 9 for 53 as a receiver. Whew. DJ Chark, 2 for 47. Let's get to the quarterback situation. Nick Foles gets benched. Gardner Minshew comes in. He throws a touch. Both of them threw a pick. And now Jacksonville's like, what do we do from here on out?
Yeah, my take on this, Cease, is the people in the organization responsible for signing Nick Foles think Nick Foles should keep playing to try to show how great their decision was to sign Nick Foles. I think he's due $16 million next year guaranteed, $5 million the year after that guaranteed. So if you give up on Nick Foles and you admit he is what he is, you admit you made a bad decision. And the kinds of people that get to make those decisions are not quick to admit those things.
No, they don't want to admit those things. Bloom, by the way, just passing on what I know.
Sure.
Watch Jacksonville fans get all mad at me again.
Uh-oh.
Grandpa Coughlin. I got some Werther's Originals in my backpack.
Yep.
So delicious.
They are good.
Grandpa Coughlin and Doug Marrone hate each other.
Yes. See, after the show, I have something for you after the show.
Woo!
Exactly.
Hercules.
Let's just say that let's just say this. The very best stories in the NFL are the ones that no one ever gets to tell. I mean, really, it's better than any soap opera. It's better than any whatever drama you like Grey's Anatomy or LA Law or whatever. Like, these are the best stories, but nobody's allowed to tell them. Well, this wasn't a great story. It's more of a farce with Nick Foles. Let's put it this way. You want Gardner Minshew out there next week against the Chargers if you have DJ Chark, if you have D.D. Westbrook, even Chris Conley. And Leonard Fournette, do you know Leonard Fournette has 65 receptions? See, how many years would he have to play at LSU to get 65 receptions? 10, 12, his whole life? So, there's that. At this point, when Doug Marrone gets fired, do we feel bad for him? I think that we say, good for him. Now his life can start again.
You get out of that bad relationship, and then you flourish. Maybe. 2019 is so weird, Bloom, because it's like every time I think of LSU actually having a real quarterback, and not just like a good college quarterback, but someone that's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the league, and not just, Jamarcus Russell. I'm just like, it does not compute. I guess we all needed Baby Yoda to save 2019. Let's move on from that. Watch The Mandalorian. And let's talk about, I'd like to save this for last, but we got to do the afternoon games last. But San Francisco, Baltimore, 20-17. Baltimore gets the win. San Francisco puts up a fight. And the great thing here, Bloom, and we'll go through all the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But for me, and I just got to watch a bit of it at the stadium. But the best thing, because we've seen these heavyweight fights before, and we've seen, New England be in this fight in week 13, and New England just be like, we're not going to show you anything because we might see you later. and then New England will lose in the regular season and then kick the crap out of the team in the Super Bowl or the postseason. This game, both teams wanted it.
Yeah.
So bad. You could taste it. Conditions weren't great, but it's football, baby. They get out of here with that baseball, right? Oh, it's a sprinkling. Let's put out the tarp on the diamond. Oh, baseball bloom. I'll convert you someday.
Yeah.
Whatever. Jimmy Garoppolo, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. The touchdown goes to Debo. That's my bike, punk. 2 for 41 and a touch. Kendrick Bourne, 3 for 42 to lead the way. Emmanuel Sanders did something, 4 for 41. George Kittle, 2 for 17. Ouch. It was all about Raheem Mostert, 19, 146, 1 rushing touchdown. Tevin Coleman only 5 for 6 in this contest. And here we go. They run the ball. They do some great things. They fall short in the end. I can't wait to watch this complete game, Bloom.
Yeah, I think at the end of this one, Kyle Shanahan said, we want to see you again. Hopefully it won't be 4 years until we, and it was a Super Bowl matchup down here in New Orleans with the power outage. Of course, it's New Orleans, there's going to be something funky that happens. This one lived up to the billing. It lived up to the setting of the swampy day. Not so much heat-wise because it was cold. It lived up to the character of these teams. And Jimmy Garoppolo problems. I mean, you flash pressure. It's the same quarterback we saw in college. That being said, there was a 4th down, and interestingly, they go after Marcus Peters. Deebo Samuel makes the play touchdown. Also on the long touchdown run, looked like Marcus Peters didn't want any part of Raheem Mostert. So maybe a little Paul Charchian sabotage, trade for 4th round pick there. As Marcus Peters, he can make the plays to turn the game. He can also be that weak link in the defense. Otherwise, it's the Ravens defense, so you didn't have much there for Emmanuel Sanders. George Kittle was more of a run blocker in this one, and even Kittle himself said, I did a great job as a run blocker. I don't really care about the stats. You can't really turn this back, though, with Mostert, at least you would think, right? So Raheem Mostert makes the team as a special teamer, basically. And at times, even last year looked like he was their best running back, or at least as good as a healthy Matt Breida. And let's face it, how much time do you actually get a healthy Matt Breida? Not much. So next week against New Orleans, by the way, winner of that game is in the pole position for home field advantage. That's not big or anything. And look, we'll see what happens with Seattle against Minnesota. So the 49ers are in that wild range where they could be home field advantage. They could be a wild card. They could be going on the road to, Dallas or Philadelphia. So maybe it's no big deal, but still a big deal. So this loss, because it went right down to the end, game was hanging in the balance the whole time. It was a wonderful game, an intense game, both teams leaving it all on the field. But the team that had the best player on the field won. You have the best player in a trade, you win the trade. You have the best player on the field, and this one, you win the game.
You win with Lamar Jackson going 105 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no INTs, and 101 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown. The touchdown pass goes to Mark Andrews, 3 for 50. Hayden Hurst, 3 for 21. Nobody else did anything in the passing game because you didn't need to, because you ran the ball as much as possible. 38 carries, 23 passes. 15 for 59 for Mark Ingram. Gus Edwards was 6 for 15. And, this is your recipe for success. So here we go, Baltimore.
Baltimore punted pretty early in this game. Wow, this one was going to be different. And look, San Francisco's defense is still very good, very talented, but there were some things exposed. Undisciplined play on the edge, especially. They were really crossed up by the read option running game. Cecil, think we're going to see some Taysom Hill next week down here in New Orleans?
Yes.
Maybe to see if San Francisco's practiced that a little bit, got a little more discipline, a little less crossed up by that. Lamar Jackson, not necessarily putting on an air show, but you do see him. And there were so many runs. What you love about Lamar Jackson is if he gets tackled for a 3 or 4 yard gain, he's getting up pounding the ball I should have been able to get past that second guy, and he was the difference in this one. You don't doubt him. You don't doubt Mark Andrews. He had a touchdown on this one. He's going to continue to get his chances. There was a terrible, by the way, the refs, even though it was in Baltimore, a lot of calls went San Francisco's way in this game too. They got a really chippy 4th down pass interference one way on review. The other way, there was one that looked like a clear pass interference on review that didn't get called. It was a pass downfield to Andrews. He's still going to be the number one target for Lamar Jackson. You love that. Marquise Brown, just against a more physical defensive backs, less of a factor here. A floor game for Mark Ingram. It happens, just like the George Kittle game. You're not going to go away from these guys. And Baltimore goes to Buffalo next week. That's going to be fun. The other team coming in on a high. So it's December season. It's good, great football, man.
Great football, unless Arizona's playing. Well, 34-7. Final score, Rams get that win. And, well, Jared Goff, a couple of touchdowns, 424 yards passing. The touchdowns go to Tyler Higbee, 7 for 107 and a touch. It's Arizona, right? And then Cooper Kupp, 6 for 65 and a touch. Robert Woods, 13 for 172. He did all the things that you needed him to do. And then some. Josh Reynolds, 4 for 39. Todd Gurley, 19 for 95 and a rushing touchdown. You're going to take that. You'd be like, man, I remember the day. I remember that. 1 for 20 as a receiver as well. So Rams, little bounce back, or a lot of bounce back today.
Yeah, and just with Jared Goff, if he plays a bad defense, he's going to be good. So even if he hasn't played a bad defense for a while, next one up on the schedule, he's going to be good. Next one, Seattle. So that's another good one for Jared Goff, for Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. Maybe Tyler Higbee, just play your tight ends against Arizona. Play Vance McDonald next week. A false start. Does that count for fantasy this week? Maybe. I mean, why go against it if Tyler Higbee can do it? When's the last time we even mentioned Tyler Higbee as any kind of fantasy factor on this show? The only one who didn't really do much was poor Brandon Cooks. And then we had Todd Gurley singing songs of love. Just not the same. It's not the same. It's never going to be the same. But he did get the touchdown. I had another one called back. So the Rams aren't dead. They're in basically, well, we'll see what happens. If Minnesota loses, opens the door a little more for them. But certainly they got to win next week against Seattle. Team they know well, team they played very close, team they're going to get in LA next week. So it'll be a fun one to make our late games more interesting.
Kyler Murray had 163 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. Larry Fitzgerald, 6 for 56. Charles Clay, 2 for 29. I mean, that's... Do I need to say anything more when I'm talking about Charles Clay as the second leading receiver? 2 for 29. Kenyon Drake at 13 for 31 on the ground, 2 for 20 as receiver. Murray also had a rushing touchdown. And, well, David Johnson's doing nothing. I thought Chase Edmonds was supposed to be back. Whatever. Let's talk Cardinals quickly.
Yeah. So you see how easy it looked for Lamar Jackson and company, and you see how hard it looked for Kyler Murray. It shows you how well Lamar Jackson's playing. And the Rams still have a good defense. Wade Phillips still a good defensive coach. I don't know if the hamstring was affecting Murray a little bit. I don't know if maybe Cliff was past his depth in this game. Certainly Vance Joseph was.
We're back.
Vance Joseph looked like nobody watched tape of last year's Rams. They're going to run screen passes. Psst. I mean, come on. Get the 14-year-old kid playing Madden to call the defenses. It was just bad. It was bad on the offense, too. I guess it's Kenyon Drake as the lead back, but it's Pittsburgh next week. So watch. I mean, this is the football gods are going to rain lightning and thunder down on me if I say, well, the Steelers defense will probably also make Kyler Murray look pretty feeble next week. Let's hope. If you're a Steelers fan. Larry Fitzgerald did okay. The rest of the team, even Christian Kirk, nothing. Arizona is taking after some fun games where they were scrappy, taking their rightful place in the top 10 of the draft, and you start to look at the many needs for this team. And yeah, it's getting to that point. It's December, so you start scouting those draft prospects. See, so you're only a month away from the All-Star Game road trip.
I know. Here we go. Shrine Bowl now. We changed it.
Yeah. Was that a trophy or something?
By the way, Jason wants you to bring the gumbo up to Greeley.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll freeze it.
Colorado, where we treat you like adults. How about Chargers and Broncos in Colorado, where the orange sun rose this morning, Bloom? I was on there at 7:30 a.m. talking about this is the dawn of a new era. This is the dawn of Drew Lock's time for the Denver Broncos as their starter. How long does it last? Who knows? It was pretty good today. Broncos win 23-20, the final score over the Los Angeles Chargers, and Phillip Rivers is just done. There was a play where Tyrod Taylor was in, where it was snapped to Taylor, and then he threw it to Rivers, but it was behind the line, so it was counted, I don't know, and then was going to throw it back. Anyway, it didn't work, but when Tyrod Taylor was in, all of us press box types were like, ooh, this could be trouble for the Broncos if Tyrod Taylor's in there. Not so much. Not so much for Phillip Rivers. 265, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. Mike Williams had a big day, of course. Isaac Yiadom was out there, for the love of God. 5 for 117. Keenan Allen, 6 for 68 and a touch. Austin Eckler, flats are open all day against Denver. 4 for 51 and a touch. Melvin Gordon, 20 for 99. And then 2 for 11 as a receiver. Hunter Henry didn't do much. And I had some questions about Hunter Henry on Twitter, Bloom, and there's a narrative, and we were part of that narrative when it was true. Like, the Broncos struggling against tight ends. That's not the case every time. It's not as an automatic as it used to be, even with a guy like Hunter Henry. Because, and I asked Chris Harris about this. I told you on the show that I asked Chris Harris about it. And I said, why is that? Why don't you guys struggle against tight ends? He said, it's all the zone we play. So Hunter Henry didn't do a whole lot. Well, let's talk about the Chargers, Bloom, so I can proselytize about Drew Lock.
Well, I was thinking Anthony Lynn after what he did last year. He's not on the hot seat. I don't know. I mean, I guess it was nice that it wasn't the Broncos blowing a game. Here's the headline, Cease. Chargers find a new way to lose a game. Was that even possible? It's like bending the laws of physics. Rivers, you can see, like you said, the decline phases here. He's a free agent next year. So that becomes interesting because Tyrod Taylor signed a 2-year deal. His agent kind of dropped the ball, not putting escalators or something in there, that if he was a starter, he would get paid like $15 million instead of whatever he's under contract for, like 5 or 6. Will Rivers get benched? I don't know. Jacksonville next week. Melvin Gordon gets that Jacksonville run defense. So, keep him in your lineup, keep Austin Eckler in your lineup, keep Keenan Allen in your lineup, even Mike Williams making some plays here. So he's coming on. Hunter Henry, you go back to probably, OJ Howard came back alive against Jacksonville today. So, but no, this Chargers team with the talent they have, not going anywhere this year. And, there's some things you chalk up, and they are a team that basically plays 16 road games. That's not great. I don't know when that's going to change really. But yeah, Cease, it was good. I'm glad that how many people showed up in Denver today, Cease? Like 30.
Well, there was more, but there was 20,000 no-shows, which is interesting in Denver because it was only 30 degrees, and that's not. In Denver, 30 degrees is like, I can wear shorts.
Yeah, exactly. And they missed a fun one. If you were there today, if you were a show, you got to see Drew Lock's first start, and it was a win, and it was a memorable win.
This is why, there's no Drew Lock jerseys in the team store. And it's a huge mistake and there's a battle going on right now in Denver radio, which is stupid, by the way. It's stupid on both sides, about what was the plan for Drew Lock. And the team-friendly radio station says this was always the plan. And the non-team radio station says they don't have a plan. If this was the plan, I would have called up Nike and I would have said, hey, Thanksgiving, about Black Friday time, we're going to need about 1 million Drew Lock jerseys and have them ready, because there was 2 touchdowns early to Cortland Sutton. People would have went in to grab a beer, pretzels, and a Drew Lock jersey, would have sold them in droves. I would even have done a special first day patch, first day Drew Lock. I was there. But do you believe in the kid or not? And it's interesting who does, and it's interesting who doesn't, Bloom. We learned 2 things today. One from Drew Lock and one from Vic Fangio. One offensive coordinator. Here's a Lassie bark if you ever heard one. Offensive coordinator Rich Scangarello wanted to kneel at the end of the game instead of throw it up for Cortland Sutton. Vic Fangio waved them off, which is his power to do that. And then they got the pass interference call, set up the game-winning field goal for Brandon McManus. We also learned that on the first touchdown to Cortland Sutton, Drew Lock told him to run that route. Sutton actually said that, by the way, not Drew Lock. So we learned something from Sutton. We learned something from Vic Fangio that both makes Rich Scangarello look bad.
Yeah.
Because this team came out and they were aggressive, and Scangarello, when he's on his scripted plays, they're very good. They work well. They look good for the most part. But there was no rhythm, no offense, no consistency, no fire, no energy, no nothing after that. So for a quarter, this was oh my God, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, amazing. And then for 3 quarters, it was what are they doing? They can't do anything. I don't even know what he's doing back there. They just couldn't do anything. So Rich Scangarello embraced.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
There's some things to embrace there too. I think you can see his arm strength stands out, even in the NFL. His ability to make off-platform throws, his ability to just kind of see it, throw it, do some things. And with a receiver like Courtland Sutton, that's nice. That's like lock and key. See what I did there? So you can steal that if you want, Cease. I'll sign over the rights to you there. So, Courtland Sutton could go to the stratosphere. He already is there, really. But you like...
And look at what he's doing with a dog crap offense.
Yeah.
And quarterbacks that include Joe Flacco and Brandon Allen. And look at how Courtland Sutton's a top 10 receiver. Kid is the steal of the draft.
He is. I mean, he's in the stratosphere. Philip Lindsay, they committed to him. He's getting the touches, but he's just not producing those fantasy results. So he's more of a low running back too. Be interesting to see how this team matches up. Nothing to lose against Houston. Maybe saving Vic Fangio's job. I don't know. And the other fun story here.
That was never an issue, by the way. Vic Fangio's fine. Now, Rich Scangarello, maybe not.
Yeah. And what you liked here is they were going to send McManus out for the field goal at the end of the 64-yarder. They wave him off, and he's like showing up the coach. He's angry. He's like angry.
His helmet.
Yeah. And then he gets a chance to come out after, and you got to love that. This is how every coach should think in the NFL. What do you lose by trying? What do you lose by? It's Courtland Sutton. Throw it up, see what happens. What happens? Pass interference. You get a game-winning field goal try. Imagine if this team had a little more of that, they might be, 7-5 like the Steelers, or even 8-4. So it was a fun afternoon of football. It was a fun day to be in Denver. And Drew Lock, I think, is probably setting himself up to be the week 1 starter. And let's give it a go. But like you said, maybe with somebody else doing the X's and O's.
Raiders and Chiefs, the game we're going to end on. Oh, God.
Yeah.
40-9. And the Chiefs didn't even try. Mahomes didn't even have 200 yards passing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Raiders and Derek Carr, touchdown and a couple of picks. Josh Jacobs, 104 yards on the ground. Darren Waller, 100 yards receiving. Cool. Derek Carrier had the receiving touchdown. Nobody started him. DeAndre Washington was the second leading receiver. Nobody started him. Terrell Williams hasn't done anything for weeks. 1 for 9. This was ugly. Our man Jason, no wonder he's eating edibles up there in Greeley.
Yeah. You need to forget. I can't remember another team like this, Cease, for a while that, they can grind out wins. They beat teams that you don't feel like they should beat. But when they're bad, they're so bad. They're just like, who did that? Oh, come on. Got to open up the door or something. Because it was terrible, terrible football in this game by Oakland. They look like they look like a team down in that Cincinnati. They look worse than the Cincinnati and Miami's because those teams played well and won today. They look like the Jets. Oh, the Jets that beat them by like 30 points. So, Josh Jacobs is so good. He's so good. They don't deserve Josh Jacobs. He looks so amazing. What does Nick Saban know? It's not fair. It's not fair that Josh Jacobs was the number 1 running back for them, but he is now. Darren Waller did some stuff. Tyrell Williams is going down the tubes. Don't trust him anymore. That's the thing. You're playing Tennessee next week. He has these good matchups. Jets, Tennessee. Jets, KC, Tennessee in a row. Oh, this passing game. Gruden, offense, he knows it. The car's on fire. Get the Mountain Dew.
Chiefs side. Pat Mahomes had a touchdown to Darrell Williams, who gets a touchdown. By the way, Tatum Bell was texting me for fantasy advice, Bloom. So I just had to step back for a moment.
Did you motivate him?
Tatum Bell. I was motivating Tatum Bell with his fantasy team. Told him to start Darrell Williams. So at least he got the touchdown because he didn't do anything else. LaShawn McCoy got a rushing touchdown. Didn't do much of anything else. Darwin Thompson got a rushing touchdown. Did a little something. Pat Mahomes had a rushing touchdown as well. Travis Kelce, 5 for 90. Cool. Tyreek Hill, 5 for 55. Cool. Enough. And the Chiefs get the easy win.
Basically clinch the division with the sweep. They're 3 games ahead with 4 games to go. Mahomes didn't have to do too much. The win, somewhat of a factor, but just didn't have to do too much. Darrell Williams got hurt in this one, a non-contact hamstring injury. Got to see Darwin Thompson. He'll be on the waiver wire show this week. And LaShawn McCoy getting a touchdown. We got, some Hill, some Kelce, no Sammy Watkins. This is where it all led to a 0 Sammy Watkins against Oakland. No, I don't think we're getting any should I play Sammy Watkins questions anymore this year. And KC, here's a segue for you, Cease. KC going to New England next week. Can New England? This is like, if somebody has found New England's offense, please report to the Lost and Found.
Please do that. Do we want to talk about Texans?
Yeah,
Patriots, which is in progress right now.
Exactly, because what's happening is, number one, the New England defense doesn't look so tough facing another good quarterback.
And they played shut him down for the Patriots defense, and then they do this.
They played shut him down.
You can't cue the Chuck D Sunday Night Football.
And thank you, everybody. I'm going to tell you that really warmed my heart.
Dude, that was so cool.
Like my Twitter mentions lit up from all of you wonderful people saying they did it. Jesus, they did it. It's beautiful, folks. When you think of us, it makes my heart grows 3 sizes, you know? So look, the Patriots defense, the vaunted Patriots defense, faces a good quarterback. Not so vaunted. Taken apart. And they finally started using Duke Johnson more. And guess what? He's doing good things. He's scoring touchdowns. He's making plays. You know, it's not going to be a huge game for DeAndre Hopkins. Not going to be a huge game for Will Fuller. I mean, maybe. There's still a quarter left. Kenny Still's getting a touchdown here. Darren Fells getting another touchdown here. And on the New England side, Tom Brady's not that good. This offense isn't good. Josh McDaniels isn't making things work. Kurt Warner's a nice guy. Kurt Warner's even ranting. Like, where's all the schematic advantages? Where's all this, you know, Tom Brady? Oh, you can't give him time. Tom Brady. You know, James White's been doing some stuff in this game as it's gone on. But and N'Keal Harry had a terrible route against Bradley Roby, and Roby just picked his pocket. And that's not why you draft N'Keal Harry. You don't draft him to run routes. They really messed that pick up. I'm sorry. This should have been A.J. Brown. It should have been Deebo Samuel, not N'Keal Harry. Not the right player for this offense, for this quarterback. So this team's going to KC next week. Another performance like this, not only are they not looking like the number 1 overall seed or the team to beat, hey, Buffalo is on the hunt. Buffalo can still win this division. Buffalo can still make New England go on the road. Week 1. Have to, you know, tackle Derrick Henry or play this Texans team again. Or play Mahomes again. Week 1 on the road. The playoffs, something they're doing right now, not winning. Not even close. I like it. The curse of Antonio Brown lives.
Let's go, Buffalo. And if Nick Saban is bounced from the college football playoff.
Yep. It's not fair.
Belichick getting bounced from the postseason a little earlier than usual.
I was outcoached. I was outplayed. We got to do a lot better job than that.
We're moving on to 2020. Send the blitz. Send the blitz. Oh, send the blitz. Bloom, I'm getting drunk texts from a coworker. You can guess who that is. And I need to know your dirt. So let's wrap this thing up. That is a wrap for tonight's program. We certainly appreciate everyone out there for listening, for following along on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom, at Cecil Lammey, and at The Audible. He is Sigmund. I am Cecil. We're The Audible. Thanks, everybody. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.